Hello, thank you for being here. This is the first episode of the third season of my ongoing series where I sit down with you all and talk about some of the photos I took in my trip in Bangladesh. Today, we'll be taking a look at some of the photos I took using Kodak Gold 200 film on my Contax T2. So without any further delay, let's take a look at the photos I took. So by the time I landed in Dhaka, it was already 8 hours late because there was a fog situation, and because of that all the flight got delayed. And since all the flights got delayed, I had another 4 hours delay in getting my luggage. So even though I was supposed to get out of the airport by 12 p.m., I got out of the airport at like 5 p.m. and by the time I got home, it was around 6 p.m. Since it was my first day in Bangladesh, I wasn't expecting much. I was just roaming around the street of Dhaka with a friend of mine, and all of a sudden, I see a bus that's on fire. I try my best to capture this moment as best as I can. From my past experience, I have realized that taking picture at a dark environment like this can be very complicated. So I didn't want to take any chance, and I took a couple of photos, and thankfully I got a few really good shots. Even though this picture came out blurry, I really like the silhouette that is being created of this police officer who's standing right in front of the bus that's burning. The fact that this picture is out of focus is creating an amazing suspense, which I'm enjoying very much. It's very hard to get a picture as good as this one as early as the first day of my trip, but I got lucky and this picture was beautiful. I was at the right place at the right time. I was hoping I could kind of pass through the police officer and get a little bit up close and take this picture, but the police that was present at that scene was very cautious and they were not letting anybody get any close to this environment. So I decided to take a rickshaw and go around the block and face the bus from the front. But unfortunately, by the time I went there, fire service was there and they already put out the fire, so I couldn't take the best advantage of this environment. But nonetheless, I'm very satisfied with this picture. This was the first picture I took in the first day of my trip. This picture came out amazing. By this time, I could be happy, pack up and go back to New York. Dhaka is often very hot, but during the nighttime the temperature falls a couple of degrees of Celsius, and I saw this homeless lady. She was sleeping in the middle of the street, so I was just talking to her for a little bit and I took a couple of photos. You could tell how cold it gets by the way this man is dressing up. He has a hat, he has a jacket on, and he's selling pan and cigarette. I knew it's too dark, there's not enough light, so I decided to use the camera flash and take this picture. So I move on and I start walking down and I see this group of people. They're just lighting a fire, try to keep themselves warm. I'm not too satisfied with this photo. I wish I took a few steps back and got this picture with all the people around this fire, but unfortunately I didn't feel like that environment or that composition was as interesting as I wanted to be, so I didn't bother too much with this place. I saw this guy getting a haircut, so I took this picture. I love how the mirrors in the front and in the back are creating a repetition of the two characters that are in the frame, which are very beautiful. So next day in the morning, I go to this park with my skateboard, and as I'm roaming around and messing around with my skateboard, this uncle that you see with the badminton racket comes to me and said, "Hey, this looks like an amazing vehicle. Can I try it?" And he was talking to his friends and they were like, "Dude, don't try it. It's impossible. You're gonna get hurt." And this guy's like, "I can do it. Of course I can do it." And he started trying it very cautiously, and after 2 or 3 tries he can really get the hang of it, and he get very confident and he tried to speed up and he just falls and hurts himself, which was a bit funny but not funny at the same time. So the guy that you see with the light on top of his head is a professional ear cleaner. He has this little kit that he uses to clean people's ear. I saw him in action, so I just took out my camera and I took a photo. Unfortunately, the photo was not in focus. Instead of focusing on the 2 men in the frame, the camera focused on the helmet of the man who's sitting on the motorcycle. And I wanted to take another photo just to be safe, but by that time the man realized that I'm taking this photo. So he was like, "Hey, please don't take this photo." And you can see this man raising his hand. And I just took this photo anyway. I think I told you guys earlier that I always have a bad luck taking pictures of shoe shiners in Dhaka because the picture always gets out of focus. Fortunately, this picture was in focus, but however, I was not too satisfied with the composition. Nonetheless, you can see what is going on, you can see the people interacting with each other. I really like this photo. This man was fixing some wires, and I love the fact that this is the first picture I probably took from a lower perspective looking at a man on top. It created a semi-silhouette which is looking amazing against the building that are behind him. The big buildings behind him make him look very small, which create a beautiful juxtaposition, which I'm enjoying very, very much.
দেখি ভাই ওই সোজা গেল তো।
This vendor is selling all these different type of things, including aloe vera, and this was the first time I saw someone selling aloe vera in Dhaka, so I wanted to take a photo of him. This picture came out amazing. The lighting was perfect. This kid was selling some vegetable and I just took a shot and I was on my way. You see, the market that I was in to take this photo was very busy, so I didn't get enough time to interact with the people that I was taking pictures of, but they were all very excited to be part of this picture that I was taking, and that's one thing that I really, really love about these photos and the people in Bangladesh. They're never shying away from opportunity to be photographed. I love this picture. I love this picture. This is a couple setting up their little business where they sell vegetable. The man was telling me that every day in the morning around 5 o'clock, he goes to this village outside of Dhaka in this district called Narayanganj, and he knows this couple of farmers and he buys vegetable from them and he just brings it back fresh in New Market and sells it in there. Unfortunately, his business wasn't really good and his wife was really upset at him for some reason and she was screaming at him at the very moment I took this photo. So I'm really liking this photo. I was asking him, why do you sell fuchka out of all the things? And he gave me a very sappy story about his love life from the time when he was young. About 3 years ago, he was in the street hanging out with his friends and he saw a girl sitting by herself and crying. He felt bad, so he decided to approach her and ask her what's wrong. And she was telling him that she ran away from her house to be with her boyfriend, but unfortunately her boyfriend didn't follow through. So now she is all alone and she has nowhere to go. He asked her, so why don't you go back to your parents' house? And she said that it's quite impossible because if she does, her parents will force her to get married to this guy who's like 78 years old. He feels bad for her, so he decided to take her home to his house where he lives with his mom, dad, and his sister. She stays with them about 7 to 8 months. In that time, this man kind of falls in love with her, but unfortunately, she doesn't feel the same. And by that time, she puts herself together. She finds a job at a garments factory, and she decided to leave them. She would always tell him that she loves fuchka, and it would have been an amazing situation if she was married to a fuchka wala. And that kind of stuck with him, and because of that, he started this fuchka business. Hearing his story made me realize one thing. You should never try to heal a wounded bird, because if you fail, that bird is gonna die in your arm, and if you succeed, it's just gonna fly away. So you should never try to fix a wounded bird. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, goodbye.